Get ready to unleash the secrets of the Monsters series, Monsters Inc. and Monsters University. Let's open the door and see what's inside. Monsters Inc. has hidden details and Easter eggs lurking throughout, including one special secret which is infamous with Pixar fans. Want to know what it is? Let's peek behind the door and find out. Monsters Inc. is a utility company in the monster world which siphons the screams of children in order to power the city. A plot point that seems more in line with a horror flick than a kid's movie. But in the hands of Pixar, I think we've learned that anything is possible. Take a look at the logo for the company. In the commercial, chairman of the company, Mr. Henry J. Waternoose III, voiced by veteran actor James Coburn, refers to Monsters Incorporated by its acronym MI. The logo is an M with an eyeball in the middle. Get it? M-I. Anyway, we follow MI's top scaring team, James P. Sullivan, performed by the indelible John Goodman, and his scaring coach Mike Wazowski, voiced by comedy great Billy Crystal. Did you know that this was the second time Pixar came calling for Billy Crystal? During the development stage of Toy Story, Crystal was at the top of the list to voice one of the lead characters in the movie. Can you guess which one? If you said Woody, you'd be wrong. Believe it or not, Pixar wanted Billy Crystal for the part of Buzz Lightyear, a role that, in retrospect, really fit Tim Allen like a glove. Crystal declined the offer but later regretted missing out on the opportunity. The filmmakers at Pixar were good sports about it and promised Billy a part tailored for his talents in future projects. I think it's safe to say they made good on that promise. As for James P. Sullivan, or Sully as he's commonly called, the role almost went to another Hollywood heavyweight, Bill Murray. The enigmatic actor, known for his work in Caddyshack, Ghostbusters, Groundhog Day, as well as a handful of films by auteur Wes Anderson, tested for the role and was all but guaranteed the part. But when the filmmakers found it difficult to get a hold of the actor, they took it to mean no from him and moved on. The Murray name would grace the credits of a Pixar movie later, however, as Bill's younger brother Joel would voice the character of Don Carlton in the Monsters prequel, Monsters University. By the way, did you know that an Easter egg is hiding in Sully's full name? The P stands for Pat. And if you know your history where animation is concerned, then you know that Pat Sullivan is the famous animator responsible for creating one of the most iconic animated characters to ever grace the screen, furry feline Felix the cat. Speaking of furry, when we're introduced to Sully, he's about to receive a rude awakening from his partner Mike. Look at his fur as he snores. Each individual hair is affected by his breath. This detail was accomplished with a program called PhysT, which stands for Physics Tool. When Monsters Inc. first premiered, audiences had not seen detail like this in a CGI movie before. The technology is still in use today, even being utilized in the clothing textures and movement nuances of the characters in Pixar's Onward from 2020. At the time of Monsters Inc., it took upwards of 288 hours to render a single second of Sully's individually animated hair strands. How many hairs are we talking? Try 2,320,413. PhysT was such a game changer, it even earned a place of honor in Monsters Inc. as its very own Easter egg. As Mike gets his station ready for Sully's first scare of the day, take a look at the keypad as he swipes his card. There it is, top left. And if you're an animator yourself, maybe you notice there's another program hanging out on the keyboard. IKT, just below, stands for Inverse Kinematics Tool, a tool used to decipher the mathematics of complex objects as they interact with their environment. Ugh, math, my sworn enemy. Mike and Sully have an enemy in their workplace nemesis, Randall Boggs, who is number 2 on the boards and gunning for Sullivan's top spot. Randall is played by the always excellent Steve Buscemi. Funny enough, if it wasn't for Sully, Buscemi might not have landed the gig. John Goodman was reportedly a big influence in convincing the filmmakers to cast Buscemi. The two actors had come to know each other well through their collaborations with the Coen brothers. They featured together in 3 of the brothers' films, including Barton Fink, The Hudsucker Proxy, and most notably in The Big Lebowski, where they played bowling buddies to the rug-avenging dude played by Jeff Bridges. Let this be a lesson: make friends with your scene partners. True scene partners are pretty hard to come by in the world of animation since most performers are recorded separately and cut together after the fact. But in the case of Monsters Inc., since Billy Crystal and John Goodman shared so many scenes together as Mike and Sully, it made sense to allow them the opportunity to record together and work off each other's performances in the moment. Steve Buscemi was afforded the same luxury when it came to his scene partner for the bathroom sequence. In the scene, Randall and his scare coach, Jeff Fungus, agonize over what to do about the dangerous human child they may have let loose on the monster world. Did you know Steve Buscemi's co-star in the scene is an icon in his own right? Fungus is performed by director, actor, and puppeteer Frank Oz. The name doesn't ring a bell? How about the name Grover, Fozzie Bear, Miss Piggy, Cookie Monster? And of course, let's not forget the most iconic of little green characters. No, not Kermit the Frog. That was Jim Henson. I'm talking about Jedi Master Yoda. Yup, all him. The great and powerful Oz. Funny enough, for all the characters Frank Oz has lent his voice to over the years, Fungus in Monsters, Inc. marks his first ever animated feature. Needless to say, it might have been pretty wild for Steve Buscemi to treat Oz's character with such disdain. At one point, when Randall realizes that his numbers still trail behind Sully's on the board, he threatens to put Fungus through the shredder. The shredder in Monsters, Inc. is a wood chipper used to destroy dead doors that lead to kids that can't be scared anymore. As it so happens, one of Buscemi's characters has seen the inside of a wood chipper firsthand. This brings us back to his work with the Coen brothers, when he played Carl Showalter in their Oscar-winning frigid kidnap caper film Fargo. Obviously, we can't show the wood chipper scene from that movie, so here's an animated octopus cutting up sushi instead. This particular octopus is a sushi chef at the ultra-exclusive Harryhausen's restaurant, where Mike takes the lovely Celia to celebrate her birthday. Celia is performed by actor Jennifer Tilly, whose voice is unmistakable in The Simpsons, Family Guy, and even Bride of Chucky for you horror fans out there. The name Harryhausen is an important one where movie monsters are concerned. The restaurant is named after film great Ray Harryhausen, who was the visual effects wizard that created Dynamation, a stop-motion model animation he used in monster movies Mighty Joe Young, Jason and the Argonauts, and It Came From Beneath the Sea. But hold on a second, let's go back to our octopus sushi chef. Notice anything interesting? There's really nothing octo about him, he has only 6 arms instead of 8. This is also a little wink to Ray Harryhausen. Our sushi chef is a tribute to the 6-armed octopus he created for It Came From Beneath the Sea. The creature is famously missing 2 tentacles due to budget constraints. Of course, there is no creature in Monsters, Inc. more terrifying than Boo, the adorable little girl who toddles into a monster world and Sully's heart. Of course, Boo isn't her real name. Sully named her Boo after witnessing her mad hide-and-seek skills. So what's her real name? Don't blink or you might miss it. Before she goes to sleep in Sully's bed, she shuffles through her drawings to show Sully the picture of her monster, who just so happens to be Randall. Back it up a bit and you'll catch her name written along the top of another drawing. There it is, Mary, which just so happens to be the first name of the voice of Boo, Mary Gibbs. Mary was only 5 years old when she recorded the voice of Boo. Needless to say, directing her took a completely different approach than the rest of the ensemble, we think. For one thing, it was hard even keeping her in the voice booth. The solution? The sound engineers decided to follow her around with a microphone and record her random speech and noises while she played. While Mary's performance took a little extra doing on the filmmaker's part, one voice in particular came easier than anyone thought. During the beginning stages of post-production, in order to get an idea of how the pace and tone of a scene will play out, editors like to use sound elements that will later be replaced by elements that aren't readily available yet. These early elements are known in the biz as temp tracks, which stands for temporary tracks, simple enough. Roz, the taskmaster sluggy secretary with a secret, has a voice that is comically grating to the ear. The temp track for Roz was voiced by story supervisor Bob Peterson. But Bob's slow, nasally pinched performance was so effective that the filmmakers decided to just keep it in the film. Hey, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Of course, if whatever it is protocol and it is broken, you can bet it'll be Roz who's on you like slime on a slug. One important protocol code that strikes fear into the hearts of the employees at Monsters, Inc. is the dreaded Code 2319. A code that scarer George Sanderson falls victim to during a workplace mishap. Well, several workplace mishaps. Poor guy. Because children are supposedly deadly toxic, scarers are not supposed to come into physical contact with them or their stuff. If they do, protocol for Code 2319 goes into effect, and the CDA comes to decontaminate the environment and the scarer. George's first infraction is caused by a white sock stuck to his fur. So what's the significance to the code number? Did you happen to notice that the 23rd letter in the alphabet is W and the 19th is S? WS equals white sock. 2319 seems to be a new Pixar in-joke, just like A113. A113. We haven't come across that number yet in this video, have we? Have you seen it? Well, keep your eyes peeled. But like I was saying, 2319 is its own little Easter egg in another movie. When Joe in 22 used the subway to visit Joe's mom in the 2020 Pixar movie Soul, take a look at the train number. That's right, 2319 leaving the station. Of course, we already covered the appearance of Mike and Sully in a Cars version of Monsters, Inc. during the end credits of that movie, not to mention Mike featuring as a piñata in Coco, but there are other movies where Monsters, Inc. Easter eggs lurk. During the Forky rescue mission at Second Chance Antiques in Toy Story 4, there's a moment when Duke Kaboom is being pursued by Dragon the cat. You're gonna have to be quick for this one. Look just above the cat's rump in this shot and you'll see a familiar sight. A canister from the scare floor. Another fun Easter egg can be found in the end credits of Finding Nemo. There's actually a lot of fun underwater hijinks going on around the credits as they roll, but be on the lookout after Nemo and Squirt seahorse around together. See what I did there? I'm not sure what circumstances brought him here, but that's Mike Wazowski doing a little swim-by in scuba gear. Actually, Finding Nemo was the next Pixar feature film to come out after Monsters, Inc., and Pixar really wanted to get the subliminal plugs anchored into our subconscious with a boatload of hidden Nemo Easter eggs. First off, not to spoon feed you here, but near the end of the movie when Sully brings Boo back to her room, she tries to get him to play with a Nemo toy. Of course, while we're here, we might as well address that she also tries to give him her Pixar Luxo ball and a Jessie doll. Jessie, of course, made her debut in Pixar's Toy Story 2. Boo also gives Sully her teddy bear, which really kind of explains why she's so attached to Mike's teddy bear, Little Mikey. It also just so happens to be the same kind of bear as the one in the opening shot of the movie. But back to the hidden Nemos. This next one is a little harder to spot. When Mike, Sully, and Boo finally get the jump on Randall, they literally pitch him into the human world. Look inside the room when Mike Wazowski opens the door, and there he is, that familiar little clownfish mounted on the wall. Another fun bonus Easter egg, we're looking at the interior of a trailer home. But when we get a good look at the exterior, did you happen to catch what's parked alongside it? That's right, the Pizza Planet delivery truck from Toy Story. You're a real pro if you got this one. Back at Harryhausen's, check out the panel on the right, just behind the not-so-octopus sushi chef. Yep, there he is again. Kinda hard to spot there when you don't know what you're looking for, and honestly, most people didn't when they saw Monsters, Inc. in theaters back in 2001. Thankfully, we live in the age of streaming. What a great time to be alive. Of course, before there were hidden Nemos, before even A113, there were hidden Mickeys, and you can find one in the opening credits of Monsters, Inc. As the feel-good jazzy music is playing and all the random shapes become a door, pay close attention when the door opens the very first time. Did you catch it? It's not a full Mickey, true, but look at the green truck on the bottom right corner of the closet and you'll see that it has a Mickey hat painted along its side. We'll count it. That snappy jazz music, by the way, was composed by Randy Newman. Monsters, Inc. is a milestone for Randy because after 16 Academy Award nominations for his music work in film, he finally nabbed his first win. Up to that point, he was jokingly referred to as the Susan Lucci of the Oscars. Susan Lucci was a daytime soap opera actor who was nominated 21 times for a Daytime Emmy, but never won the award for Outstanding Lead Actress until 1999. During his acceptance speech, Newman jokingly remarked, "I don't want your pity," which garnered a house full of laughs. In Monsters, Inc., Sully comes to realize that an alternative power source may be the answer. Instead of harnessing children's screams, the company shifts to harnessing children's laughter. And when they do, Sully becomes the coach and his little green buddy Mike gets the limelight. After Wazowski's first joke of the day, he's literally already filled his daily quota, which would be impressive if laughter wasn't 10 times more powerful than screams. Did you happen to notice the yellow canister in the scene? It's an absolute tank compared to the scare canisters used before it. While we're here, there's actually another super duper deep cut for you Billy Crystal fans. If you caught this reference, I want to shake your hand. Take a close look at the little dance Mike Wazowski does when he celebrates his successful comedy bit. Did you notice what he does with his mouth? This is referred to as the white man's overbite, a term Crystal himself gives as an example of in another hit movie he starred in, the 1989 romantic comedy smash hit, When Harry Met Sally. But I digress. The switch to laughter energy rewrites the rules for Monsters, Inc. Literally. Did you happen to see the poster hanging in Mike and Sully's cube? You're gonna want to pause for this one. It reads, 10 rules for comedy. And if you got the time to read through them all, you'll be rewarded with some monstrous silliness. There are enough extra Easter eggs and details for Monsters, Inc. to fill up another laugh canister, and we probably will. But we know there's one more hidden detail you're dying to see uncovered. The appearance of the famed A113. Pay close attention because if you blink, you just might miss it. A113 is… we don't know. The truth is, nobody seems to. Remember when I mentioned the one secret that marks Monsters, Inc. in infamy? This is it. A113 is nowhere to be found. Fans have agonized over this fact for a while now, especially because there are instances in the movie where the reference is so close. It's as if Pixar is toying with us. The trash compactor is XP13, huh? One of the CDA agents' number is 11-2, huh? One of the humongous pillars in the room full of doors reads A13! Ah, the madness! I'm okay. We're okay. So A113 is unaccounted for, but that doesn't necessarily mean it doesn't exist. If you find it, please let us know in the comments. Make sure you subscribe to Movielogic for more daily movie facts, trivia, and Easter eggs. Mike and Sully are back, and they're younger than ever in this prequel to Monsters, Inc., Pixar's Monsters University. Just like the first movie, this one is so crammed with secrets and Easter eggs, we might have to pull an all-nighter. Let's hit it. First, let's get this out of the way. Pixar shocked its die-hard fans by not including the studio's trademark Easter egg, A113, in Monsters, Inc. For the uninitiated, A113 is the Cal Arts classroom number that holds such great significance to Pixar animators that they sneak the number into every one of their movies. Or so we thought. It seems like it's absolutely nowhere to be found in Monsters, Inc. Well, don't worry. In Monsters University, it is present and accounted for. In the movie, Mike and Sully take Scaring 101 from Professor Derek Knight, voiced by British acting great Alfred Molina. Well, it just so happens that Professor Knight's lecture takes place in room A113. Look at the open door to the right as John Goodman's Jimmy Sullivan makes his grand entrance. While we're on the topic of Professor Knight, you might have noticed that he's a dinosaur. It could very well be that he's named after the paleontologist Charles R. Knight, who was famous for his illustrations of dinosaurs in the 1800s. Wow, deep cut. But now that we have the A113 reference out of the way, let's get to the rest of Monsters University's awesome secrets. Not only does Monsters University take place before Monsters, Inc., but it actually existed before Monsters, Inc. was even produced. While in pre-production for the first movie, the filmmakers fleshed out a storyline that told the entire life story of Mike Wazowski, played again by funny man Billy Crystal. In the end, they decide to set Monsters, Inc. during his adult years, but when it came time to make a sequel to the smash hit, Pixar went back to the original treatment and used the college portion of Mike's life for inspiration, which might be what led to a possible inconsistency between the two films. You might remember the scene from Monsters, Inc., where Mike and Sully walk to work after watching their commercial. Sully pokes a little fun at Mike, and Mike remarks, "You've been jealous of my good looks since the 4th grade." And yet, in Monsters University, Mike and Sully don't meet until college, so what gives? Director Dan Scanlon did have a draft of the film where Mike and Sully meet in 4th grade before flashing forward to their college years. John Lasseter and Pete Docter loved that Scanlon was honoring the one line from the first movie, but told him that ultimately he had to do what was best for the story at hand. So that 4th grade development was cut from Monsters University, leaving that line in Monsters, Inc. to be explained away as, an old monster expression, according to Scanlon. Oh, and by the way, if you ever wondered what Dan Scanlon sounds like, you need go no further than the quad when Mike checks out the different booths during orientation. That blue tongue-tied monster who bombs his invitation to the improv club is voiced by the director himself. Talk about a clumsy first interaction. Of course, Mike and Sully's first interaction is hardly the stuff of BFFs. Sully mistakes the window to Mike's room for his own and hops in with Archie the Scarepig, a rival university's mascot, in tow. They interfere with Mike's studies, wreak havoc on the room, and eventually lead to a campus-wide chase. But listen to Mike scream when Archie pulls him across the floor of his dorm room. It's that exact same soundbite used in Monsters, Inc. You might remember it from when Mike gets his hand slammed by Roz's overhead door, and then again when he's bitten by a baby monster known as Baby Smitty. Perhaps now is a good time to mention that Mike shares his dorm room with another character from Monsters, Inc., Randall Boggs, voiced by Steve Buscemi. Part of the fun is knowing that these roomies will later become arch rivals. But take a look at Randall's side of the room. Notice the framed inspirational poster over his bed? Hawk-eared fans will recognize this poster makes reference to a famous Randall line from the first film. When Randall tries to intimidate Mike and Sully in the locker room, he says, "Shh, shh, shh, you hear that? It's the winds of change." But wait, we're not done here. There's another interesting character detail in the room where Randall is concerned. Take a look at his bedding and matching rug. They're reminiscent of the design style made famous by luxury fashion house Louis Vuitton. In place of the overlapping LV, we have RB for Randall Boggs. Randall must come from money. That or he's a fan of knockoffs. Randall also showed up during the chase for Archie. We see him trying to make friends with 7 cupcakes that together read "Be My Pal." After Mike and Archie knock into him, he's left with 4 cupcakes on his face that read "Lame." Did you know that in the different international versions of the movie, the cupcakes were smiley faces instead of letters? It was probably too much work to try and find different word gags that would work in different languages. Another fun Easter egg shows up during the chase. As Mike rides Archie the Scarepig into the Jocks fraternity house, take a look to the left under the tree. It's another signature sighting of the Pizza Planet delivery truck from Toy Story. The Greek system plays a huge role in Monsters University. Monsters can only participate in the annual Scare Games if they're part of a fraternity or sorority. The Scare Games were first created by Dean Abigail Hardscrabble, voiced by Dame Helen Mirren. Did you know that she was actually offered the role outright? But the ever-consummate professional Mirren requested that she audition for the role. She wanted to make sure the filmmakers were satisfied with the performance she had to give. Of course, as a voice performer, she has nothing but pearls to give. As the character, she gives Mike and Sully no end of grief, even kicking them out of the Scare program after the two accidentally break her prize Scare canister during finals. Mike and Sully have no choice but to join forces, join a fraternity, and win the Scare Games in order to be let back into the Scare program. Easy enough, right? Unfortunately, the only fraternity taking is the least popular house in town, Uzma Kappa. That frat house belongs to Scott Squishy Squibbles' mom, Sherry, voiced by SNL alum Julia Sweeney. Her son Squishy is one of Mike and Sully's new fraternity brothers and somewhat of a social outcast with a heart of gold. Squishy is voiced by Peter Son, whose voice credits not only include such films as Ratatouille, Luca, and Lightyear, but he performed in and also directed The Good Dinosaur. These next two fraternity brothers aren't just joined at the hip, they pretty much share an upper torso. Meet Terry and Terry Perry, voiced by Sean Hayes of Will and Grace fame, and David Foley from The Kids in the Hall. So, how do you tell them apart? Sean Hayes voices Terry with an I, who has one horn pointing up, while Foley voices Terry with a Y, who has two horns pointing out, kind of like the letters themselves. Funny enough, Dave Foley guest starred on Will and Grace for 5 episodes, where he played a short-lived love interest to Sean Hayes' character Jack. Mike and Sully's next frat brother is old enough to be their frat father, Uzma Kappa President Don Carlton, voiced by Joel Murray. After his sales career hit the skids, Don decided to make a late-in-life shift and go back to school for scaring. Ever the salesman, he always has a business card on hand. Did you happen to notice his address and phone number? The address reads 1200 Dark Avenue, which is a reference to 1200 Park Avenue, the address for Pixar's headquarters in Emeryville, California. This checks out as the area code on the phone number, 510, registers for the same area. The rest of the phone number is fake, however, as the exchange number is 555. Did you ever wonder why so many movies have phone numbers that start with 555? Early in the 11-digit phone numbering system, the numbers 555 were reserved in order to prevent calls to real people from die-hard fans of any film or television property that features a phone number. These days, only 99 numbers are available for this very use, 555-0100 through 555-0199. Slim pickings, am I right? Finally, we have Art, the impetuous New Age philosophy major, who drops hints that he led a pretty sordid past before returning to academia. He's voiced by It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia wildcard Charlie Day. If you're not entirely sure what to make of Art, don't worry, you're not alone. The filmmakers even had a hard time coming up with his character design. Dan Scanlon gave sketch artists Jason Deemer and Chris Sasaki the direction Think Mysterious. After spitballing a frustrating amount of ideas that just weren't clicking, Sasaki decided to draw an A for Art's name and gave it 2 eyes. That simple design springboarded the artists into creating the furry, fun-loving final character we see in the movie. And that rounds up the Uzma Kappa Brotherhood. The morning after Mike and Sully are initiated into Uzma Kappa, we see Mike sleeping on Sully's hand. Obviously dreaming, Mike says, "I know you're a princess and I'm just a stable boy." Believe it or not, this is another Billy Crystal deep cut, like the When Harry Met Sally Easter egg in Monsters, Inc. In his dream, Mike is referencing the main characters from the movie The Princess Bride, which Billy Crystal also featured in as the hilarious Miracle Max. It'll take a miracle for Uzma Kappa to beat the other houses in the Scare Games. They're up against some truly scary opposition. The first event is the Toxicity Challenge. Wait a minute, take a look at the little flourishes painted on the wall beside Scare Games. Anything look familiar? How about the yellow and blue ball with a red star on the bottom left? It's the Pixar Luxo Jr. ball. There's another fun surprise waiting at the end of the challenge. Uzma Kappa loses the race because Mike and Sully couldn't work as a team with the rest of the fraternity, but they escape elimination thanks to another team cheating. Feast your eyes on the disqualified fraternity, particularly the orange fellow with the horn on the right. Fans of Monsters, Inc. will no doubt recognize him as a young George Sanderson, the scarer who just couldn't hide from a 2319 violation. He's not alone. Jump ahead to the next event, where the teams need to capture the flag without getting caught by the librarian. While Art is creating a ruckus to distract her, check out the shocked monster in the cap. That's Charlie Proctor, George's coach from Monsters, Inc. I guess those two met in college as well. You also get to see them together on the scare floor at the end of the movie just before Mike takes his first step onto the floor as an official member of the Monsters, Inc. scare team. Did you notice how crossing over meaningful thresholds is a big deal to Mike? He obviously did it on the scare floor. He also does it the moment he gets off the bus and steps onto MU's campus. These are the big steps on the path to Mike's dream. But take a look after he and Sully have been expelled. He does a subtle, shameful step off the campus grounds as well. Mike and Sully are expelled, first because Sully tampers with the final event in order to win the scare games. But Mike's violation is more severe as he uses a student project door to enter the human world in an effort to prove that he really is scary. He soon realizes he's in over his head when he finds himself in a camp cabin filled with young girls. After roaring fruitlessly, one of the campers roars back at him. You might just recognize that roar. Why? It's a soundbite like Mike's scream from Monsters, Inc. This one is taken from Mary Gibbs, the voice of Boo. Now that I mention it, there's another familiar voice we haven't heard from in a while, the Wilhelm scream from the 1951 movie Distant Drums. Like A113, this Easter egg remained elusive in Monsters, Inc. But give it a listen during the montage sequence when Mike is running the floor waxer while studying. Mike's so preoccupied he doesn't notice he's become a danger to the other students, including a tentacled monster with a purple MU backpack. Haha, always nice to hear from an old friend. That's not the only classic movie reference in Monsters University. Back during the Scare Pig chase, maybe you recall a mop-topped folk guitarist serenading some lady monsters on the quad. His guitar accidentally gets destroyed by Sully in pursuit of Archie. This little moment is an homage to the godfather of college screwball comedies, National Lampoon's Animal House. In the film, John Belushi's Bluto lays waste to a folk guitarist instrument during a toga party. That instance, yeah, not really an accident, but he does say sorry. Another school-based tribute can be found in the form of an MU faculty member. Professor William Brandywine is a teacher in the engineering department at MU who runs the class in screen canister design. Though he doesn't look the part, his monotone voice and bland delivery are reminiscent of the economics teacher played by Ben Stein in the John Hughes hit Ferris Bueller's Day Off. Bueller. Another fun fact about Brandywine. Take a set of clippers to him and what do you get? As it turns out, you get Don Carlton as his basic character model. The next Easter egg happens pretty quickly, but give a listen to the different sound bites triggered by the traps during the Don't Scare the Teen challenge. At one point, Art dodges a teen obstacle where a teen girl's voice can be heard saying, "But Daddy, I love him." The inflection is identical to the delivery of the same line by Ariel in The Little Mermaid during a fight with her father, King Triton. There's something else here worth pointing out. Check out the t-shirt on the girl's would-be boyfriend, black with a white skull. In the world of Pixar, this is a clear wink at the bulliest of bullies, Sid Phillips from Toy Story. Of course, Monsters University has its own set of bullies, but none more calculating or intimidating than Roar Omega Roar President Johnny the Jaw Worthington III, voiced by Nathan Fillion. After Uzma Kappa proves themselves for a second time in the Scare Games, they're invited to Roar's house party, but under false pretenses. Johnny plays a prank on Uzma Kappa, showering them in pretty colored paint, glitter, flowers, and stuffed animals. This is a clear homage to Brian De Palma's adaptation of the Stephen King high school chiller Carrie, in which the titular character is doused in pig's blood at her prom. Obviously, that's a little gory for our audience, not to mention poor Archie. So here's a fun moment from the art club table in the orientation scene. Of course, early on in the movie, Sully does everything in his power to curry favor with Johnny and the Roar elite, but Johnny reserves judgment, noticing how Mike Wazowski begins to overtake Sully on the books. When the Roar Omega Roar brothers get a look at Sully's C- test, pause to take a closer look yourself. Sully's answer to number 6 is a fun little detail and perfect example of how he tries to coast on his talent alone. Of course, Sullivan eventually comes around and realizes that when he joins forces with Mike, they're a winning combination. Still, it probably would have been nice had he come to that realization before they got expelled. But MU is not the only doorway to these monsters' dream job. Monsters, Inc. is always hiring in the mailroom. Speaking of, here's another fun nod to the first movie. Look who supervises them in the mailroom. It's the Mr. Snowman. Voiced again by Pixar's Lucky Charm John Ratzenberger. This cameo is double the fun for Ratzenberger fans who remember John from the hit sitcom Cheers, because in that show his character Cliff Clavin worked for the U.S. Postal Service. See what they did there? Also, did you happen to see the lemon on his tie? A fun little nod to the snow cones awaiting him in the future. Turns out he's not the only monster who knows how to make lemonade from lemons. We see Mike and Sully rise through the ranks via a creative locker-bound montage, where the two shine in every job on their quest for the scare floor. Pay attention, there are loads to see here. Pause fast the moment you get a load of the inside of Mike's locker. Right beside the award for most mail delivered is a spray can of wet dog odorant, which is what Mike wore to Celia's birth date in Monsters, Inc. Along the left wall is a ripped piece of paper with notes regarding what to do with Mike's least favorite part of the job, the paperwork. Remember the color codes he quickly spouted off to Sully on his way to Harryhausen's? Pink goes to accounting, fuchsia to purchasing, goldenrod goes to Ross. Do you remember what to do with puce? Check out the pink lipstick note next to the picture of Mike and Sully's first day of cafeteria service. Looks like Mike's met and begun to woo the lovely Celia. Look at the picture in the article entitled Impressive New Recruits, and you'll see the back of Scare Instructor Flint, voiced by Bonnie Hunt in the first film. Interestingly enough, Bonnie's voice is featured in Monsters University as well, but not as Flint. This time around, she's the voice of Mrs. Karen Graves, the teacher who takes young Michael Wazowski and his class on the school field trip to Monsters, Inc. that will forever change little Mikey's life. Check out Mr. Waternoose. Nice fro. Still, if we only knew then what we know now. Finally, right next to Mike's new Polaroid of his and Sully's first day on the Scare team is a familiar photo of Celia that can be seen in Mike's locker in the original Monsters, Inc. Notice how he also has an awful lot of post-its reminding him to do his paperwork in both movies. I guess some things never change. I hope you enjoyed watching this video and found some cool new secrets you hadn't seen before in the Monsters series. Don't forget to subscribe to Movie Logic for more daily movie facts, trivia, and Easter eggs.